Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to Brendan Taylor for joining us today, one of the stars of the Netflix show Firefly Lane. Thank you so much, Brendan, for joining us.
Ciao a tutti, piacere.
Tell us a bit, what's been the main element in Mutt's character and Firefly Lane in general that fascinates you the most and also drew you to join the show?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing comedic characters and comedies. So, um, in the first season, it was just something that kind of reached out to me and spoke to me. The character, it was really fun. I had fun with the audition. I didn't know how it was going to go, as it sort of goes, and I all of a sudden, got a call back and then sort of got it. But the best thing about sort of going from season one to season two, we had a bunch of time during COVID. It was delayed quite a bit, season two. And coming back, we had a lot of new crew and everything. But I was sort of, one of the consistent things, and I took a bit more license to just improv and have fun with the character. And that's what I like most, is that, Mutt, it kind of makes sense for him to chime in with hilarious, crazy things, that because he's just Mutt and that's what he gets to do, and he gets away with a lot. So
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, in fact,
Yeah.
we had such a lot of fun with Matt's character throughout the whole show.
Yeah, it's just been really fun to discover. I mean, I would discover, episode to episode what I'd be doing. I didn't find out, where I would be going. And, it was obviously fun to find out in the first season that he always has a thing for Kate, and then
Yeah.
we date briefly. And, that was just a fun thing to discover. And then in the second season too, it was, plenty of fun things as they came up. So, yeah.
And talking about the show in general, in your opinion, what makes Firefly Lane unique? It sets it apart from other shows.
Mm. Well, I'm not an expert, but I can't think of many shows that focus on platonic love, like friendship love. Every show is always about romance between whoever, it doesn't matter. But, how many shows really focus on like true friendship and love, which is something that is so valued that for some reason it is less of a common thing. When there are, classic uh, friendships, Wayne's World, like Wayne and Garth, for example, they're best friends. They're obviously best friends, but like there's not things that like shows that really deal with, how friends are so important to each other, and especially, and in this case, female friends too, who, women go through different things, especially that's what this show shows, is through the decades of how, um, them as friends have dealt with relationships and personal things, but also, being a woman in the 70s and the 80s and the 2000s, and how how that changed or didn't change through the years, and them having themselves to each other to rely on. So I think that's a really big part of the show. Yeah. And the
Absolutely.
book, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for all the fans that haven't watched Firefly Lane season 2 yet, how would you describe it if you had just like 3 words or a sentence?
Um, uh, Lots of love or lots of
So
laughter.
true.
One of the two. Making it was lots of laughter for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's really centered around that, and it always comes back to that, to love. But yeah, and for us making it, it was just such a blast to spend so much time together, and share all kinds of fun jokes and stuff in between some of the heavy
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I as Mutt didn't experience a lot of the heavier stuff, except towards the end. But he had his own moments. So yeah. definitely had my own sort of moments, and they didn't some things they didn't actually end up keeping in the show that we'll never see. That is just kind of that's it. We'll never know. So yeah.
And how would you describe your experience filming the 2 seasons of Firefly Lane? And how was it like for you also to work with Sarah Chalke and Ben Lawson and Katherine Heigl on set?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was so awesome. Ben and I became good friends, as well as Sarah and Katie and Ignacio, who
Yeah.
is uh, yeah, we all just became really good friends. Jason McKinnon, who plays Sean on Kate's brother on the show. We're actually old friends from high school way back when, and
Oh, right.
yeah, we went to the same high school, and then sort of we're in the same circuit and go out for similar parts. A fun fact: Jason also went out for Mutt in the first season. So
Wow.
imagine Sean playing Mutt. That would be an interesting
That's
character.
so
But
cool.
yeah, so there's all kinds of things like that. But yeah, I mean, everyone was just so great and welcoming. Yeah, Sarah Chalke is one of the funniest people I know, and she's just a wonderful energy on set, and Katie as well, and yeah, everyone's just it was just really great overall for me. I mean, I wasn't there, every day. I wish I was. But whenever I was there, it was a really good vibe I felt on set, and not everything is like that. I mean, there are some shows that shoot where the energy just isn't quite there, or which is weird, because we're all having fun. We're making a show. This should be fun,
Absolutely.
no matter what the sort of subject matter. So why everyone isn't enjoying themselves, where we kind of should be, because we all get to work on this thing together, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, so many good times.
And is there any particular scene that you consider your favorite one to film on Firefly Lane?
um I think there are a lot. I mean, I really love shooting scenes with, well, just whenever we're our kind of Scooby Gang, I call it, like of of me and Johnny and Tully and Kate. Those are always fun because we're just always sort of riffing, and yeah, I think which one was good. I mean, the wedding scene where we come up with the song, that was particularly fun.
Yeah.
In the second season, for those who have seen it. We all got to record it ahead of time, and then to sort of play it back to it. But yeah, I got to throw my own twist on it. If you listen closely, I'm sort of harmonizing in the background as like they're doing it, and yeah, so that was particularly fun, just because it was, you just kind of have to let loose and be willing to look silly, and yeah, but I mean, it's hard to choose a moment for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. And acting wise, um, um, what's been the biggest challenge you experienced in portraying Mutt? Was there any particular challenge?
Um, I mean, I drew a lot sort of from, myself, and I think he's just a lot more confident, I think, than maybe I can be. That's what I think is funny about him, is that he's one of the most consistent people in the show.
Yeah.
Like, ironically, even though like he's maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed, so to speak, he is always who he is, and everyone else is struggling to figure out their lives and who they are and who they love and this and that. And Mutt is like pretty straight. He pretty much knows what he wants the whole time. He doesn't necessarily get it, but he kind of knows what he wants all the time. So I think making sure that comes across, and then the other was just, I mean, it wasn't really necessary, but I would come up with improv in the scenes that a lot of the times it didn't make it in the final edit. But if like the thing in acting is that like the scene that you're shooting is just like a moment in these people's lives, right? And the camera is capturing this imaginary sort of moment. But there's time before that and time after. There's the moments after. So if the camera's still rolling, then the scene is still going on, then these people are still interacting. So I can, I would just continue and say something that Mutt would say, at the end. And it kind of actually made it in to one of the episodes, one moment that I was happy about is the scene where we all end up in the hot spring. Do you remember where like Kate and Johnny are found this private little hot spring, and Lottie and Mutt show up and like, oh, what are the chances? Like we're all in this tiny hot spring, and they had built this tiny. We're talking like meters. I don't know, 2 by 4 meters of like a pool. It was very small, and when I jump in and they left, and I just close my eyes and I'm like, Marco, in this like tiny little pool, playing Marco Polo with Lottie by myself, just because and it was just a fun moment that ended up making it in the final thing, and was ridiculous, but made total sense, I think, to sort of Mutt's. He's just always kind of playful and trying to have fun and keeping it light.
Absolutely. And now to a little fun question that we always ask to the people we're interviewing, and considering we're talking about Firefly Lane, they're on the Firefly Lane universe. If you had the chance to play another character on Firefly Lane apart from Matt, which one would you choose and why?
Yeah, I mean, Johnny would just be a fun character to play, but I don't know if I'm not Australian enough to be Johnny. So, no, but I think, Danny would be a fun, Ignacio Cerico's character. Danny is super fun because he is like the male Tully equivalent of being that sort of charismatic and sort of bullheaded and all the other things that they match up on, and that would be a fun character for sure. But,
yes, totally agree.
Yeah.
And now we'd like to know if you took any prop or any piece of costume to remember this experience from set.
Yeah, so I did. So I'm 6'5", so I'm pretty tall, which is about 2 meters, I think, for those.
Yeah.
So I have like large feet as well. So I got to keep a lot of the clothes that Mutt wore, or buy them for pretty cheap. So the suits and shoes are the most important thing because they just don't fit me. So half of the shoes I own are like Mutt's shoes from 2 seasons of Firefly Lane. So that's something I can always look down and people are like, nice shoes, and like you can thank Mutt for that. But also I had prepared this. So you might remember these on set. And this I actually took. Well, it's actually from IKEA, but it's they're like stickers. They're not like baked on like a mug normally would be. But like in the last scene, we were taking all apart, so I wanted this as a souvenir. But then, the producers ended up making
so
a little gift for us, which is basically the same thing.
Yes.
So. I mean, there's the legit prop, and then there's like the gift. So, anyways, that's I always have that with me. Yeah, yeah.
And besides, throwing back instead to the origins of your career as an actor, how did the passion for acting come about in your life?
I was a really shy kid, and for some reason, early on in high school, I was always been drawn to movies and cartoons and things like that, but I would enjoy them sort of privately. And then,
Yeah.
like a drama class in early high school was an opportunity for me to try some stuff in, and it's pretty common, I think, for shy people to find an outlet in the arts, where they somehow get the confidence to play or music or act or something in front of people. And that's sort of what happened with me. I just sort of had some kind of natural ability with that, although I didn't know exactly what it was I was doing,
Mhm.
right or wrong. It's funny, I have some like old video from high school, and I can watch this kid that I barely recognize was me, and like watch myself, and there's some kind of natural ability there, but at the same time, at times, I'm like, this kid has no idea what he's saying or doing. He's just saying words, and like, I don't know if I believe him, but somehow I do sometimes. And anyways, it's interesting. And then I just eventually had the sort of courage to follow it, through a career. I worked in set decoration on the other side of film, for many years, and watching actors do what they do, and I was taking classes on the side, and then I just eventually started to audition, and I was like, I don't want to watch that anymore. I want to be doing that. And yeah, and it was just a very kind of slow transition to doing it, and I've been lucky to do it for several years now. But yeah, I'm very lucky to be able to do it, and it's what I love to do. So I hope I get to do it for a long time.
Yes, we hope so too for you. I mean,
Yeah.
and among all the projects that you had the chance to work on so far in your career, is there any particular one that you're mostly fond of?
Well, I mean, this show definitely was. I mean, spanning over. I mean, we started shooting in 2019 for the first season, and then shooting, and then it coming out a year after that, and then shooting the second season. So it's been a big chunk of my life. Um, but yeah, I mean, I also do theater as well. So there's been some plays that have been really important to me as well. But it's really hard to pick some other ones. I mean, in terms of shows that you might recognize, yeah, I was on Supernatural, which was a really fun character and fun show, and that whole machine of that show, that was back when they did 24 episodes a season for 15 seasons. For anyone who's watched that show, I mean, that's a lot of content. But I happened to be in 2 episodes as Officer Doug, and meeting those actors, and it was very inspiring. And then I was briefly on a show called Fargo it's on Netflix, based off the movie, which was just a super special experience with that cast. Got to shoot. I'm like a character in a black and white movie that's in the show.
Yeah.
That Kirsten Dunst's character is watching, and so I got to do like a heightened sort of 50s black and white movie within a cool show itself. So it was that's just something that always comes front to mind, and it was a very brief moment, but it was I mean, the people I got to meet and what I got to do was super fun. I played like a French soldier with a Parisian accent, and yeah, that was super fun.
And you've also appeared on some Hallmark Lifetime movies as well.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about working on this kind of movies, also romantic ones?
Yeah, we shoot a lot of them in Vancouver, like quite a lot, and Canada in general, across Canada. But Vancouver, a lot of Hallmark movies. Yeah, they're just really fun. They're very light, light in weight, and they're designed never to be heavy, even auditioning for them. Like you have to, even though it might be this passionate scene, you know, or it's always, you have to always remind yourself that it's like the people watching it are not trying to be dragged down by the emotion. They're trying to be sort of lifted up at you know, even the bad stuff is sort of uplifting and helps them recognize things in their own lives, but they don't want to be dragged into like a heavy story. And that's what I think they are. They're sort of a bit of a, you know, a vacation from the heaviness of life. That's why we all like romantic comedies and romance movies.
Absolutely.
We always, and they make so many because we never get tired of those stories, you know, as people, because they're always different. They're always the same, but they're always different.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll never stop enjoying hearing stories like that. So, yeah.
That's so true. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And talking about instead future projects, is there something that you're working on right now that you can share with us?
Well, I have, I have an episode of a show called Creep Show, which is in its 4th season. I think it's coming out around Halloween, thankfully. But that's something that I'm really excited about. It's based on the original show series called Tales from the Crypt, if you remember, from I think originally in the 90s, and then they have other other depictions of that show over the years, but sort of horror sort of stories with a bit of lightness built in. That should be, it's also but bloody and gory and stuff like that too. So a total take in the other direction of this, but that should be coming out in the fall. So I'm excited to see that. So but otherwise still looking for work as well too, so.
And we can't wait to see that Creep Show and other projects of yours that's coming next.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
Our final question, if you had to give some advice to young people who wants to pursue an acting career or in entertainment in general, what kind of advice would you give them based on your experience?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to pursuing anything like that, I think the best advice is I could say is to do it as much as you can, as obvious as it sounds, because it's not going to just sort of come out of nowhere. There's a sort of an idea, I think, especially with acting, that you know, you're working at a cafe and a producer walks in and like, I want that person to be the next movie star. Like doesn't happen. It happens very rarely, but it just doesn't, you know, it does happen. It's just not how things happen. Like most things in life, it's stuff you have to work for. So I think you have to not prove to others, but prove to yourself that this thing that you say you love and you're pursuing is that important to you. So what are you doing to do that? Are you working on it every day? Are you taking classes? Are you reading plays? Are you watching movies? Are you like, do you have opinions about directors and actors? And like, it should almost take over your life in certain ways. Do you know what I mean? It can't just be a passive thing that just sort of occurs to you. You have to be active in doing it. So, yeah, I mean, however that means to you, just do it. I just stuck with it, honestly, and at great sacrifice too. You know, I of other things, of missing important family things and opportunities in life to sort of keep doing this. And I think you have to just, you know, admit to that and do that, and make it happen somehow. And it'll start to come for you. So, because the people who don't do that just sort of eventually sort of fall away off the path, and like, there you are continuing on. And eventually, if you do have talent, which I think you probably do if you're pursuing this, that people will start to recognize it and start to request you and notice you and for what you're doing. Yeah, and then from there, I mean, who knows? There opportunities come along. There's a lot of luck involved. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the right place at the right time. But if you're prepared, then the right thing comes along, and those things combine and give you that opportunity, and there you go. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for this incredible advice. I'm sure that our readers will really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I love Italy, by the way. I was just there last summer. I was in Sicily,
Oh,
actually,
amazing.
and visiting Ignacio, who also stays
We
in
know
Italy.
we had the chance to talk with him, and
Oh, you
so
did?
he told us that he lives there.
Yeah, yeah. I got to visit him and stay with him last summer. I was in Trapani and Favignana on the west coast of Sicily. So and got to practice my Italian a little bit. So yeah, it was.
Right.
I love Italy, and I hope to be back as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you so much for this chat. It was great to have you here. And let's remind people that Firefly Lane season 2 and season 1 as well is available on Netflix to stream.
Mhm.
And good luck with your upcoming projects.
Thank you. Grazie mille a tutti.
Grazie a te.
Okay,
Bye.
bye bye.
Bye bye.